Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I am at the MotorWorld Car Museum here in Munich, Germany. I'm going to be doing an entire road trip tour across Germany, which I'm incredibly excited about, and it is starting here in Munich. So currently it is almost 10 p.m. and I'm in this museum. This museum closes in 10 minutes, but I have access to this museum 24/7. So right here is the main starting point. This is the main entrance right over here. And you have two ways to go. I'm gonna go straight, which I guess you could say is the third way. Because, well, I mean, look at this. Bugatti. Not one, but two Chirons. We got a normal Chiron there. Could be a Chiron Sport, but I can't tell by the back end because I can't really take a look at it very well. And then the Chiron Per Sport. When I arrived last night, only the Chiron was here. There was no Chiron Per Sport. That came in today. I didn't get a chance to see it come in. And I guess it's good because this was feeling a little lonely. It needed its more athletic brother. Both absolutely gorgeous specs. I've never seen a Chiron completely blacked out like that before, and I'm absolutely loving it. And then this Per Sport too with the blue accents on it. I really like them both. I feel like I'd take the Per Sport just because it's more insane, but I mean both of them are absolutely stunning, and they both have the sky roof option, which what that means is that you get two glass panels instead of nothing on the roof, which I think helps with natural light coming into the cabin. But it's an expensive option. I think it's like $50,000, but don't quote me on that. So say goodbye to the Bugattis for now because we're going to be going this way. This is another section of the hotel. So it's here, and here you have rooms that look into the museum or that look out. Mine looks out, and then there's also a passageway that you can get through to go to each building. This is the restaurant that I ate at. And then we got another Bugatti over here. This is a much older one. I'm not really good with older cars, but this thing is probably quite valuable. And then we also have a new Ford GT over here. We got an Aston Martin DB11 Volante, Aston Martin Vantage Volante. Volante means convertible in Aston Martin language. God, oh, I thought that was a real person for a second. Maserati 224, $84,000. That's a lot, but don't know too much about old Maseratis. We got a gorgeous Alfa Romeo Giulia 2-liter, 1966. Wow. Then over here we have a China Gray Aston Martin Vantage and a gorgeous GT3. This is a beautiful spec. Then we have the iconic Volkswagen van. Oh my God, that's expensive. Volkswagen Beetle. So I guess those things are basically the same, right? Porsche people, just come at me in the comment section down below. We also have a Toyota FJ45 pickup. Looks like, I'm not sure what model Mercedes this is, but it's got quite the paint job on it, or wrap. Then for the Tesla fanboys out there, we have the original Tesla Roadster based off of a Lotus Elise, but they took most of it out. It even has a carbon fiber roof and carbon fiber bit on the hood. These things are quite valuable now, which is just crazy. And then we have the Lotus Evora. This was like the more grand touring Lotus before they came out with the Emira. I've always had a soft spot for the Evora, especially this one, which I think is the Evora GT. And then that's also the Evora GT. Yeah, I'm not good with Lotus Evora models. And then we also have the Lotus Emira here, which I think is absolutely stunning. Lotus did a fantastic job with this car. Uh-oh. Oh, it's a game. Well, thanks for interrupting my filming. All jokes aside, I really do think this is a beautiful car. I think Lotus nailed the design. I cannot wait to drive one day, and I would actually consider owning one of these things. Manual gearbox, V6, mid-engine. I mean, it just doesn't get much better than that. It's a Lotus as well, so you know it's going to be a great driving car. Reliable? We'll see. We'll see about that. Then in here, we have a gorgeous Porsche Speedster, a BMW M4 CSL, a Targa, Lotus, 311 Road Sports Wagon, bunch of other cool Lotus. I think that's a Morgan, Lotus Exige, Maserati MC20, and then it looks like that could be a Roof 993. Moving on from this, we now have my favorite V8 Ferrari of the modern era, the 458 Spider. Yeah, the 488 has come out, and the F8 has come out, and the SF90, but I still think that this is the most beautiful V8 Ferrari to have come out in a long time. And the naturally aspirated V8 is really what also does it for me. That sound, that Ferrari V8 is just unbeatable, and the turbochargers, I'm sorry, I don't care if there's even a loud exhaust on it. It cannot replicate the naturally aspirated sound that this thing makes. This is a car I definitely aspire to own one day, just maybe in a different spec, because this one, for me at least, is very vanilla, but I'm not going to hate on it. Paint is also in excellent shape as well. You can see it under the amazing lighting in here, that this thing is very well taken care of. And then we also have the Kardashian Mobile, the G63 AMG. You can't go wrong with one of these things. Some people don't like them. I've always had a soft spot for the G-Wagon, even though I know they are everywhere in social media. And, well, where I live in Tampa, and especially in Boca Raton, Florida, these things are everywhere. But I really do think they're cool, and they're pretty off-road capable. Maybe just if you take off these tires and you put on some actual good off-road tires, but it has 3 locking diffs, and for anyone that hates on the G-Wagon, I get your hate, but I love it. Then over here, it looks like we got a restaurant or something. I don't know. There's actually not been a lot of places open, but maybe it's just because I've been gone most of the day, and I come back when everything closes. But over here we have an Audi R8 race car. Don't really know much about this, but it's here and it looks sick. Now over here we have an old Lincoln Cosmopolitan Sport Coupe 1953. And then over here, 1965 Dodge Coronet 426 Max Wedge Super Stock 3. One of 3, $198,000. Whew, that's a lot of money. I'm not a big American car person, so I can't really justify spending on an American car, but this thing it looks badass, especially with the tires and everything like that. And then over here, this looks like it's a Challenger RT. Yep. And an old Buick. This is when Buicks were actually cool to look at. 168,000 Buick. I don't know how to pronounce that. Guerra Le Sabre Cabriolet. And then look at this. A Carrera 3-liter in a sick color. I'm not a big fan of... This isn't ruby still red. It could be. It's pink. I'm saying this is pink. Got the 5-spoke. Oh my god, what are these called? I don't remember the name of the wheels. Moving away from the classic American stuff, well, temporarily, we have this Carrera 3-liter in pink. Such a cool color. This car looks incredible. I love the wheels. I like the Carrera 3-liter decal on the side. It's in mint condition. It could have been restored. I don't know. But I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And then over here we have a Plymouth Sport Fury 426. And then we got an old Corvette. No, that is a bike. I don't know much about bikes, but that's the bike. And that's how much it's worth. And then we have a Zuwagen for sale. And then we also have this 1970 Corvette C3 Cabriolet next to this, which is a 1980 Porsche 930 Turbo 1 of 1. 350,000 euros for this thing. I've never seen a Porsche where the headlights go down like this that isn't the 928. So to see this is quite rare, and I honestly don't know too much about this car, but what I do know is that it is insanely beautiful. I mean, just look at those wide wheel arches in the back. I wish I could go through here and get a picture of it from the back, but I'm not going to do that. Then we also have an Alpine A110 here. We also have another one inside. We do not get this car in the United States, and it's such a shame because I really like it. It's retro inspired, which is kind of why those lights are positioned there, and they kind of look a little funny, but really cool car. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this car is made by Renault, which is a French car manufacturer that we also don't get in the United States. This is kind of a Alfa Romeo 4C competitor, and I really like it. I'm really digging it. I like the seats. I've heard great things about the way it drives. It's a very pure sports car, which in this day and age with cars just going through so much technology and now electrification, things are getting a lot more complicated with cars. And so to go back to basics with a great sports car, especially as a car enthusiast, is always a great car to have in the collection. So over here we have some more restaurants that look like they're closed. And over here, we have a ton of cars that are being stored here. So you can pay to get your car stored here. This is great for long tour. So over here, this is where you can get your car stored in this glass box garage. You obviously have to pay for this, but if your car is being used long term. So moving on from the Alpine, we have this over here, which is what makes this place quite famous. It is the world's greatest glass box garage. There's also another MotorWorld in the V8 hotel, which is where I'm going next. So that's why I'm actually comparing the two hotels, is because of this particular reason. And there's some pretty cool cars in here. And if you want your car stored long term, this is a great place to do it. And it also gets to be on display as well, so everyone can take a look at it. I'm not exactly sure how the process works with it, or if they take care of the car, if they take it out for every once in a while. But it's always really cool because you get to see some insanely cool cars in here. M4 CSL, one of 150 in the world. There's another one that was back there, I think, that we saw earlier. Alfa Romeo 8C. I mean, this is like one of the most beautiful cars ever made, and that color is insane. Two Giulia Quadrifoglio. Oh God, I don't remember the name of them. I gotta look them up, but we don't get those, I don't think, in the United States. And then we got a Huracan, and then I'll have to go upstairs to take a look at what else we got up there. But we'll do that later. We're going to continue to look. We have the AMG badge. And then inside this showroom, we have Recaro, Balassi, Apt, Brabus, Zenvo. There are no Zenvos in here. But we got some cool Audis. We got an RSQ8 and two RS6s. Oh, another RSQ8. So I guess 2 of 2. I have an Audi A6 wagon rental car, and so this is just making me jealous that I would have shared the RS6. Not that I'm complaining or anything. Got GT3 in the back, the new SL. I'm not sure if it's a 55 or a 63. I don't honestly know what this is. This looks like it could be a Jaguar D-Type. But what I do know is that it is stunning to look at. It is just drop dead gorgeous. And we also have an SLS in there. Aston Martin Vantage 488. And a bunch of other cool stuff in there. Some Brabus G-Wagons. And then this is where the Bugatti was. So we just covered this half of the building, and now we're going to cover this half. So walking past this Land Rover Defender here, we have Carrera, which I guess is some RC cars, and I think they make sunglasses. Could be wrong on that. We've got this beautiful 964. No, I'm sorry. This is a 930, 911. I'm not good with old Porsche 911s. Oh, wait, it is a 964. So walking past this beautiful 964, we're now going to cover the second section. So the first section was this part over here. There's Bugatti, and then this is the second section. So beautiful 964, and then we have a bunch of more long-term car storage. STO, this car I actually drove a year ago back in Italy, and it always brings back memories to when I got to drive this thing in Modena. And I think it's such a beautiful car. So many STOs I find are just terribly spec'd. There's just one too many colors on it that just don't work. But this thing in silver and a little bit of blue accents here and there, I think just looks amazing. The rear I'm just in love with that. And, God, what else do we have in here? I'm not as knowledgeable about these older ones. But we have an M8 race car. This looks like it's a Corvette. I think it's a C2 or C. Yeah, I think that's a C2. M850i. It's throwing me off though because now the M850 and the M Performance cars get the M mirror caps and the double slots and even the M in the grill when I know this is not an M8, this is an M850i. We also have a Maserati dealership over here with the new Gran Turismo, which in person is absolutely gorgeous. And we also have a bunch of Maseratis being stored in here. Oh, I forgot what was up here. 360 Challenger Dolly, 458 Spider, C63 Black Series, Maserati. Oh God, I forgot what that's called. I don't remember what that's called. I feel terrible for not knowing this. And another, I guess, kitchen accessory shop that wasn't open when I was here. CLK Black, some old Mercedes, beautiful 911. Some model cars that you can buy and spend a lot of money on. 812 Superfast BMW Z8 designed by Henrik Fisker, which is over there. I didn't even know Fisker was still a car brand. This F8 Tributo, this spec is absolutely gorgeous. I have never seen an F8 this nice. And we have a 50th anniversary 911. Oh, the F8 even has carbon fiber wheels on it. That's not a cheap option, especially for a I guess, lightweight version of the Ferrari. So, like, not the Pista or the Speciale version. Over here, we have what looks like a Le Mans car, Porsche 962. And then over here, we have a Lotus F1 car, I think. It looks like an F1 car. Let's see what it says here. Yeah, no, that's not a Porsche 962. And then in here we have a BMW M4 race car. An oh God. We also have a beautiful E36 M3. And that could be a 2002, but I gotta take a better look on the other side. In here we have two SF90s and a Portofino. This SF90 has the painted Scuderia shield, which is a very expensive option. And you can see kind of the differences between this one, which has the regular one, and this one, which has the painted. It's slightly larger. Moving on from that, we have a beautiful 458 Spider, as well as a gorgeous Ferrari 308. This thing, if it's been refurbished, then I don't care. It's absolutely beautiful. This interior with this exterior color is just stunning. And this in Italy during the summer, the color combination just probably works so well and just is stunning. This looks like one of those Mercedes Sprinters, or I guess this is a Metris in this case, that you see celebrities come out of with an insane backseat. And then we also have a C8 Z06, I think. And then over here we have a C8 Corvette. Thought this was the Z06 based off of looking at the rear with the exhaust, but no. It just has a NAR exhaust, I guess. I like the tips. I think they look cool. They kind of look like afterburners on a fighter jet. And then over here, this is actually a McLaren dealership. We have a beautiful 765 LT. And then over here, we got a little bit of a surprise. Not the merch, not the McLaren GT, the 570S, or whatever that McLaren is. I can't keep up with the models. Nope, it's this, a McLaren Elva. I've never seen one of these in person before I came here. So to see one of these in person is an honor because these things are very, very rare. And you don't see them on the road very often either because it doesn't have a windshield. So you got to really have good weather to take one of these things out. Now over here we have a McLaren race car. Don't know much about it, to be honest, but it looks cool. And this is just basically McLaren rail at this point. We got the new McLaren Artura V6 hybrid supercar of the Sport Series, which is their lowest tier of performance. Then we have a McLaren GT, another McLaren GT. This looks like it's a Porsche 911 Carrera S. 600 LT, 720S, 570 race car, or whatever that I don't remember. I said it before, I don't remember. McLaren GT, another 600 LT, but this time a Spider. McLaren Artura, 675 LT. Haven't seen one of these in a long time. Absolutely love these things. These things on here, these are actually MSO, which means McLaren Special Operations. So these were a special option. But I've never been a fan of these 5-spoke wheels. You can get other wheels on this, and these just kind of look a little too basic for this type of car, in my opinion. Next to the 675 LT, we have a SLS. But this one is a Roadster, so no gull-wing doors on this one. And what's interesting about the Roadster version of the SLS is that even though it was more expensive when it was brand new, it is significantly less expensive than the gull-wing counterparts on the used market because it's not as desirable. But what is pretty cool is that these both are red with red tops, which you don't see very often, except this is an AMG GT and this is an SLS, and they also have slightly different interiors, this one being a lighter color and this one being a lot darker. So moving on from the AMG GT and the SLS, we have probably my favorite 765 LT I've ever seen. The spec on this thing is incredible. I love this color. Any car that comes in this color just enhances it, in my opinion. I love the wheels. I'm all about this 765 LT. I actually think it is one of the most beautiful supercars ever made in a long time. I think the lines just work. I love everything about this car. So moving on from that, we have the 720S, a beautiful 812 GTS. The GTS is the hardtop Targa convertible. The Superfast is the coupe. And then this was not here yesterday, a Senna GTR. If the Senna just wasn't aggressive enough looking for you, this is your answer. So the Senna, I was never actually sold on it because the wing looked quite bizarre from the rear, but this with this on the side really completes the look and looks even more aggressive than the Senna, and I think it is just insane looking. Look at these air ducts for the twin turbo V8, the air scoop. The induction noise on this thing is probably incredible, but these are windows on the Senna, but these are just carbon fiber, probably to save weight because glass is definitely not very light. So I'm not 100% sure if this is a road legal conversion, because I know sometimes people do that to this car. But these tires, they barely look road legal, if road legal at all. I mean, just look at the intakes and the hood and like this under here, that insane splitter. That is just nuts. Under this cover, based off of the wheel design from the last 675 LT, we have another 675 LT. Not sure if it's a Spider or a coupe, but definitely can tell that's one there. We have another McLaren GT over here, and then another 720S over here. And then we have one of my favorite Ferraris. I have a massive soft spot to this, thanks to Sam from Seen Through Glass, the 360 Challenge Stradale. The Challenge Stradale is the lightweight track-focused version of the Ferrari 360. But the difference between the 430 Scuderia and the 458 Speciale and the Pista is that those are lightweight versions of the road-going counterpart that they're based upon. This, however, is a road-going version of the 360 Challenge race car. So what this means is that this was even a little more aggressive than the 458 Speciale or the 430 Scuderia that succeeded it. I mean, you could get this as an optional for the window. Just a little thing of little plexiglass slider. I mean, this was pretty hardcore. And I don't say this often, because I think almost every car needs an exhaust. At least every supercar needs an exhaust. This car from the factory does not need an exhaust. It sounds incredible. And then we have a 458 Speciale, which to me is just the cream of the crop when it comes to supercars. The 458, as I mentioned, is one of my favorite V8 Ferraris, and the Speciale version just takes that to a whole different level. And then we have the California. This thing has gotten a lot of hate, especially from me. I don't think it's the most beautiful Ferrari, but however, nowadays, value for money, you are getting a naturally aspirated V8 Ferrari convertible with a dual clutch gearbox. And this was actually the first ever road-going Ferrari to feature a dual clutch gearbox. So right over here, we have a beautiful 300 SL Gullwing race car. Don't know who raced this, don't know the significance of this, because this might be an incredibly special car that I don't know that I'm actually realizing that I'm filming. Obviously, the 300 SL Gullwing is a very, very special car. This definitely looks like it's been raced. There have been quite a few very significant cars in here, such as Paul Walker's exact R34 GTR, but that unfortunately is not here anymore. And then this looks like it could be the BMW Isetta or something similar to that. And then we got a bunch of other little cool spots in here. So I guess we're starting off with a bang here. We got a 356 Speedster, as well as a Ferrari 348 TB. We're going to get to over here, but we're first going to start over here with all of the Brabus models. So these both are identical Brabus 800 G-Wagons, the only difference being the color combination. This one is a beautiful matte black, and this one is gloss black. This one has a black interior with red stitching, and this one has a red interior, which they both are nice, but I'm a red interior guy. And I already liked how the G-Wagon looked, but this is just insanity. I love it. Look at these exhaust tips on the side, the huge wheels, carbon fiber tire cover. I mean, this is just insanity. Oh my gosh. And then we got this one again from the back. And then on the hood, there is a fake fake hood foot. Okay, after not butchering the pronunciation, fake hood scoop, but it's real carbon fiber. A little extra, but I'll take it. And we also have these lights along the floorboards here. Moving on though from these two, we have this, which is a GLE 63 Coupe. Now, I really do not like the GLE 63 Coupe. I think it is such an ugly car. Most coupe SUVs I'm not a big fan of. Just the sloping roof back design just doesn't do it for me. This rear end just doesn't do it to me. My favorite thing is Motor Trim, when they did a review of the original GLE Coupe, they put the letter U next to GLE, so it's spelled ugly, but the wrong way. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. However, what Brabus have done to it has completely elevated it, and I think it looks insane. I mean, just look at these exhaust tips. These are carbon fiber surrounds that surround the metal exhaust tip, and a huge carbon fiber rear diffuser, carbon fiber lip spoiler in the back, in classic Brabus fashion, completely blacked out. Carbon fiber wheel arches, huge wheels, and the inside is completely unmodified. Brabus, you can modify the interiors, but these are all completely factory inside. And then the front end with these carbon fiber vents in the grille with the red slats and this huge carbon fiber front part of the bumper is just absolutely insane. Moving away from the Brabus end, we have a normal G63, and after looking at this, it looks so narrow. But I do like the spec on this car. I think it is a very, very nice green. And the G63 in stock form is far from a bad-looking car. I love the G-Wagon. And then over here we have a Land Rover Defender. I love this color. It is like a desert gold. This would look really cool in the Abu Dhabi desert. The Defender Falcon. Don't know much about this, but they're asking 99,000 euros gross, 83,000 net. Yeah, this thing's really cool. And then on the more American side of things, we have a Tesla Model S. I think this is a plaid. I don't really keep track of the Model S range that much anymore, but I would think it's a plaid. Yeah, I honestly don't know what this badge means, but it's cool. Can't really go wrong with a plaid, especially when they depreciate. But ever since other electric car brands have been coming out, like Lucid and regular car brands that have been releasing electric cars, the Model S has really fallen out of favor for me, especially considering how expensive it is and how terrible the build quality is. So next to the Ferrari 348, we have a 488 GTB. And then over here, we have an SLS Roadster. I have not seen a single SLS coupe. The only SLSs that have been here are Roadsters, which I found very interesting. Haven't seen a white SLS in a long time. And we have this beautiful interior to match the exterior. And I always like this metal fuel filling cap. Such a little detail on the SLS, but I've always been appreciative of it. This also has a carbon fiber lip spoiler in the back. And then here we have a V12 Vantage. What a car. I mean, the fact that Aston Martin fits their largest engine in their smallest car is incredible. And I really like the spoiler design, how it curves within the design of the car itself. And also look at this paint. I mean, that is metallic to the max. You also have a lot of yellow accents on the car. And then here are the exhaust tips on this very large carbon fiber rear diffuser. Now, Aston Martin has another Vantage with the wing called the AMR. And I'll put a picture of it here, but I find the wing on the AMR doesn't really fit the character and the design of the car. It looks like it was just kind of stuck on there and wasn't really accounted for within the design of the car. This, though, on the other hand, I think has been accounted for on the design of the car. And I think this is a Vantage with a wing done right. So moving on from the Aston, we now have this, which is the KTM Expo Super Light. Never even heard or seen this car until I came here. It's fully exposed carbon fiber, mid-engined, Audi 2.5 liter 5-cylinder powered supercar. And this makes 500 horsepower in a 2,500 pound car. So this thing is plenty fast. It also has an Akrapovic or Akrapovic exhaust on it. And the way this closes is so Batmobile style. You know, when people say, oh, the car looks like the Batmobile, and like people are like, no, it doesn't. This kind of really does. It's insane. But then moving on from this, we also have a insanely cool array of Porsche GT models. So the first one being this GT2 RS Weissach. This one is sold. I really like the copper wheels. They're not quite gold or bronze yet, but I think it really complements the silver, as well as Miami blue. And this, all the specs on these cars are incredible. Another Weissach car. And then this one in this green with gold accents. This is insane. So the university I go to, USF in Tampa, the school colors are green and gold. So I guess this is a USF spec, I guess. I mean, just look at the carbon fiber rear spoilers on these things. That is insane. The rear end also on the GT2 RS, like the GT3 RS, is super aggressive. I can't wait to see what Porsche does with the 992 GT2 RS. So moving on from the GT2 RS, we have a GT4 RS and a GT3 991.2. This is probably one of my favorite Porsche GT models. Yes, the GT3 RS and GT2 RS are super cool, but as I've mentioned in my other videos, this right here is an air intake. It's on either side and it feeds into the carbon fiber air box, which is directly behind the seats. So the induction noise that this car makes is absolutely incredible. These air intakes are normally windows on other Cayman models, but they did this for cooling purposes and of course to make that flat six sound inside just insane. I would love to drive one of these one day and really experience it. And I also like the fact that it's mid-engined, so it theoretically should be a much more balanced handling car than the 911. I also really like this desert gold with the gold wheels. This, as I mentioned with the Defender in the Middle East, would look incredible with a desert backdrop. Not that it looks bad in here. One thing I also noticed is the hood on this is full carbon fiber, exposed. So you can get the hood like the GT2 RS where it's just carbon fiber stripes. Now this does have the Weissach pack, but the hood, for whatever reason, is optioned like this. I'll have to play with the configurator again, but you can have it like this or you can have it with stripes. I kind of like it just like this. The stripes do look cool, but I think it looks cooler on the GT2 RS. And then over here we have a very yellow 991.2 GT3. Cannot go wrong with the GT3. Insane track car. This one's also a manual, and it's got body colored trim on the inside, and it even has race harnesses and a bucket cage. Full roll cage with yeah, amazing car. And you don't really see silver wheels on yellow cars anymore, but I quite like it. Moving on from the Porsche end, let's go to the other branch of Volkswagen vehicles, Audi. More specifically, Abt. ABT or Abt is a performance car company. Think of them almost like Brabus or Rentec, but for Audi. And they make very subtle but aggressive looking kits, as well as insane power jumps on all of the models that they sell. This one is an RSQ8, and this one, I don't know what it's called because there's no badge on it, but it looks incredibly aggressive. For those who don't know, the RSQ8 is on the same platform as the Lamborghini Urus. It does have a D2 engine. There's probably a bunch of other things that are different about it, but it is on the same platform. And in my opinion, I think it is a much better looking car than the Urus, especially from the back. I would personally take an RSQ8 over a Lamborghini Urus any day of the week. And the interior on these cars are all from the factory, so there's nothing that has been done there. This one, they're asking gross 187,000 euros. And the front end is just completely black. There's no carbon fiber here, so pretty subtle. And then here is my favorite, the RS6. So having an A6 rental station wagon, this is like the ultimate of this body style. The matte black with just the Abt treatment on it is just a dream. This 100% would be one of my favorite things to daily drive on the road. And there's also another RSQ8, and then two more RS6s. So this is the front of the car, super aggressive. I love this front splitter with RS6S in red. And then over here, here's the RSQ8. Very Stormtrooper spec. The splitter isn't quite as aggressive. This one has some very unique looking carbon fiber on it. It's a very large weave. It's not personally my favorite, but it's still really cool nonetheless. And you even have like the M style mirror caps. And then there's the interior. So they did a couple of modifications to the carbon fiber trim inside. And this one is really aggressive. You got full carbon fiber on the front. Moving on from that, we have another RS6. This one is black and white. And I think the RS6 looks incredible in white. And I'm not a big fan of white cars in general, but this is where it's at. 224,000 euros. That is insanely expensive. But considering how much the RS6 normally costs, it's not terribly different. One thing that is more difficult to see on the black cars is this right here. So you have these two little spoilers that are full carbon fiber on the back of the car, and I really think it looks so good. It's very subtle, but very effective in creating this very aggressive look for the car. And then down here you have a beautiful carbon fiber rear part of the bumper. And then here's another RS6, this time in gloss black instead of the satin. And these both, I mean, incredible, just amazing looking specs. The specs on them, just everything looks so mean. And we do have one more Audi though, which is this, which I'm very sad because we do not get this in the United States. This is an RS3 hatchback. We do get the sedan in the US, but for me, I'm a hatch person, and this to me would be one of my favorite things to daily drive because the RS6 is very expensive. This is not cheap, but it's significantly less expensive, so a little bit more of an obtainable daily driver. And this has a 5-cylinder, unlike these which have a V8, and the 5-cylinder sounds like a baby V10 since it is half the cylinders, so it creates quite a unique sound. I'm not exactly sure the power numbers they're asking on this car. I'm not sure about the power numbers of this particular car, but stock it makes around 400 horsepower. And look at this carbon fiber rear spoiler. This time, instead of being two separate ones, it is one full one that goes down and then back up. And the gray with the carbon accents looks incredible. The paint job is also immaculate. And the front end of it has gotten a little bit of a controversy because the black part of the front extends almost into the headlights. But I think it looks fantastic. 108,000 euros though for an RS5 is quite steep in my opinion though. I'm not sure if it's worth it, but the buyer may think it's worth it. But do you think it's worth it? I think it is probably worth it to some people. But I honestly would just get a stock RS3, stick all the apt panels on it, and then just get a tune for it and an exhaust and call it a day. This is pretty weird to see here because this is a Jeep Wrangler in Germany, but I really like it. And they're asking 232,000 euros for this. This is absolutely insanely expensive, especially considering that there's a place in South Florida called SoFlo Jeeps that makes a ton of conversion kits for Jeeps, and I guarantee you they're probably around the same price as this thing is worth. And this one is missing the spare tire, which it looks kind of weird on a Jeep. It almost looks like it's missing something. And it has an exhaust on it with quad tips. And then we have a couple of cars over here. The first one being an SLK 55 AMG. I just love the fact that Mercedes stuck a huge V8 in this little pocket rocket of a car. They made a second generation as well, and they made it up to 2013, I believe, and then they discontinued the V8 in the SLK models. I love these polished wheel design, and this was the era of when the SLK kind of had the SLR inspired front end, and this is a hardtop convertible, and I think it looks quite good, and especially because this one's in such good condition, I think it is aged quite well actually, in an area where I don't think many Mercedes of this era looked quite good. And you got the full AMG oval exhaust tips in the back. Moving on from the SLK, we have two more Mercedes AMGs, as well as in the middle, a 991.1 Porsche 911 GTS Cabriolet. And then this one right here, this is an AMG GTC, and this one is an AMG GTR Roadster. The C, you would think it means convertible, but no, because this isn't a convertible. They make it in a convertible, but this one's not. It's very confusing. The GTC is a AMG GTS that has the wide body from the AMG GTR, which is conveniently located right here. Okay, for those who have actually had the time to watch this entire video through, I'd like to thank you so much for reaching the end of this video. Classic me though forgot to record an outro for this video, so I'm just going to do it in voiceover with some beautiful B-roll shots. But on that note, I would like to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.